Welcome to the Renee Report, bringing you issues of topical interest. Hello everyone, I'm Renee Mera and welcome to the Renee Report, bringing issues of topical interest. Today my guests are representing the new executive board and the committee of the Indo-American Arts Council, which came into existence almost 2 decades ago, and that was under Arun Shivdasani, who recently retired. And we have the new executive committee. We have Dr. Nirmal Mattoo, who is the chair of the Indo-American Arts Council. Thank you very much for joining us, Dr. Mattoo. Mr. Rakesh Kaul, who's the vice chair, and Mr. Sunil Hali, who's the executive director. And all three are very well known in the community. They've been supporting a lot of nonprofit initiatives, starting with Dr. Mattoo, who is a medical doctor, an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, a humanitarian, and is also part of the Center for Asian Studies, Indian Studies at the Stony Brook University, as well as with Association of Indian America, AIA. Mr. Sunil Hali, a very well-known figure in the television and radio field. We all know him from the electronic media, and who's done commendable work in his field. And now he's the executive director. Mr. Rakesh Kaul, he's a technologist, he's a businessman, he's a writer, and his last book was The Last Queen of Kashmir. So that's another topic that we should talk one of these days. So gentlemen, welcome. It's the Indo-American Arts Council, we all know, has been there for 20 years. It was under Arun Shivdasani. She recently retired. Dr. Mattoo, you took over. You have a new vision to move it to the next dimension, to the next level. So share with us, because the Indo-American Arts Council has always been supportive of all the artistic disciplines from the Indian subcontinent, and promoting it through a lot of outreach activities, whether it's a film festival or paintings or art or music, classical dance forms, everything on the artistic umbrella. So tell us where you want to see IAAC now.
As you just mentioned, that IAAC is a well-known, established organization with very firm roots, and Arun Shivdasani had done wonderful work with it for the last 20 years. And just kept on growing and is known every place. And when Sunil called me one day that she was retiring and she may even close the organization down, and that this wonderful organization needs to survive because it brings a lot to Indian community, maybe more based in Manhattan, but overall to New York, whether through its dance festivals or movies or art festivals. So, and they have done good work for all these years. So we want to, first of all, understand the organization, because we have recently joined the organization and taken over, and then understand how it has been functioning so far, what are the qualities, good qualities, and what are the limitations that it has, and then bring it to the next level. And next level means get more involvement from people. We want to hear from people, the community and the audience in general, that what do they also want to see this organization do. We will have our own vision, we'll have our own, you may use the word agenda, we'll do film festival this way or art festival this way. At the same time, we also want people to talk to us and tell us what do they think they want to have. And often the limitations is money and other things to take them to the next level. But the board that we are developing and the people who have shown a lot of enthusiasm to be part of it, hopefully will make sure that it has enough funds and it goes to the next level, so we can nurture already established artists and some new ones also, the young ones that are here. So we want to have a platform for artists and writers and movie producers of Indo-Americans who are born here and raised here, and also from different parts of India. So we'll cast a wider net and hopefully with the support of the community and support of all these bright people, we'll do all right.
Yes, because you have a great board over here,
Yeah.
all very well-known names. They're iconic figures, and they've done a lot in their field, and they made a tangible difference in whatever they have done. And here we have, we see these three gentlemen. Dr. Mattoo mentioned, and money's always it's a very tough balance, to be cost effective and to have those resources, and especially when you're living in a very volatile environment, finances become like a priority at times. So how do you want to streamline your resources and your infrastructure and still continue to move the needle?
So to just pick up on what Dr. Mattoo said, our dream is to make IAAC the happening place where you come not just for entertainment, not just for education, not just for empowerment, but also it becomes a center which enables a lot of different things depending on, what social interaction produces. I would say the most important thing that we want to bring in is volunteers. That is the richest capital that any nonprofit has. And I'm very, very pleased that not only has Sunil been able to retain the key 5 team members who are continuing with us and who are the linchpin, but the good news is that in her emeritus role, Arun Shavdasani is going to be continuing with us. And so she now gets to do the fun part without worrying about all the headaches that are involved in running the day-to-day organization. So on that score, it's very heartening to see every day people writing to us saying, I'm this, how can I volunteer as part of the new IAAC? And so that I would say is number one. Number two, it's pretty clear that there's a lot of wealth that's here in this area that really is looking for high return on investment opportunities. And when they find, and I talk to them and I say, look, if your child wants to become a doctor or an engineer or a computer scientist, great. But what if your child wants to become the next comedian?
Yes.
What if he wants to become a painter? What if he wants to go start a rock band? What if he wants to
non-stereotypical
make
roles.
a movie?
Yeah.
What is the support system for that creative talent? And they sort of scratch their head and then they realize, you know what? We need that. We need that. It's a felt need. So we put a great board. We are only 1/3 of the way there with Anurag Harsh, with Rajiv Kaul, with Anil Bansal. But the good news is we have invitations out to 4 stellar women. We want to make sure the board is inclusive of the spirit of India. And the spirit of India is in its women. So we're going to make sure that we bring top talent that represents India. And I'm very optimistic that we will, between the volunteers, between the financial capital, that we will build a world-class platform. I don't see this as programs, I see this as a platform. And I see this platform as incubating our next generation of creative talent here, next generation of creative talent in India, because frankly, the role of Indian culture is to serve humanity. It's not to serve just us.
Very rightly said, and I think you brought in some very core points over here. You're talking about, bringing in new ideas, and there's a wealth of new ideas, and and breaking through those barriers. We look at stereotypical ways of looking. Okay, our child wants to be a doctor or a teacher. The same IT. Maybe it could be a stand-up, or maybe she would like to do something very different. Maybe she wants to be a writer, and maybe she needs that support system, which IAAC can actually help her to move forward with that. And there's so much one can do, and I think this organization can help you.
Let me just take a minute to illustrate the point you just made. Look at the best writing in English that has been done.
Right.
And the names that come up are Indian authors, Salman Rushdie, Jhumpa Lahiri, and
yes.
I think I can go on. And they did it solo. They did it without a support network. Now, if there was a support network, just imagine how many more we would propel up to the world-class level. The Amjad Ali Khans of the world, they should be performing with the New York Symphony.
With their sons, and yes, absolutely.
And that's the level we will bring this. If we are successful and if the community supports it, we will give Indian culture the right place, the right seat on the global table.
It is
That's
important that the Intel culture is a very old culture where a lot of experimentation was done in any discipline of Indian culture and art. And they have tried different methods to make it better in Indian philosophical system. These things are not just for us Indians. They have to go to the all over the world, and people have to understand, appreciate, and learn from it.
Absolutely.
What it offers. It will enrich in every community, everyone.
And I think it's so important to nurture those initiatives that Mr.
Right.
Rakesh Kaul is talking. And Dr. Mattoo, you've written a huge book. I remember that. What is it?
Ananya.
Yeah, Ananya, and that is all about India's culture. It's all
Right.
about heritage, and so you know it all. It's right there. So the framework is right there with you, and you have this support of the board
Right.
and the advisory board members as well. And I think it's a synergy that will.
No, that
create-
was very important point, because initially when Sunil called me and said that we need to do something about it, I was involved in different type of things. So I thought, I don't know whether I'll have time, and even if I have time, whether I'll be able to do what it needs to be done for it. But then I told him that, look here, we need to get a group of people who are going to commit, not just I am committed, but really commit themselves to it, and we're able to get initial group of people who have shown their full commitment to make sure that this is a very successful organization and does produce change, and
That's right.
that's what we're looking for.
And I think 20 years, you can see the strengths and weaknesses. You can look at the missteps and then move
Right.
forward with that, and then try to overcome those
Right.
the barriers that may come in, and take it to the next level. And Sunil Haliji, you obviously are from from the media, so you know how to do outreach, how to really promote and create that awareness, like I'm doing here right now. So tell us, there were activities like, we had the Writers Month, we had the film festival, the folk dances, or the paintings. So it was all there. The artistic disciplines were manifested through those different activities. How you're gonna, as the executive director, streamline those activities in a way that people remember?
See, as we just talked about, Dr. Mattoo mentioned and Rakesh mentioned, when Arun started almost 20 years ago, if you really go, this is a complete cycle. 2 decades have
Yes.
gone by now. And India was mostly known by the riches of its arts. It was Pandit Ravi Shankar, Vilayat Khan, Hari Prasad Chaurasia. So then this IT revolution came in, and India has happened in the meantime in last decade. But the time has come back that we need to go through the cycle one more time, but present these rich heritage of India in a different format. Our population has grown from less than 1 million to almost 5 million today. The artist calibers have changed. As you mentioned, media is playing a super role, because you can connect with anybody at any time. We don't need to have the maestros of India who would perform in schools, basements for $500, $1,000. These are highly sought after artists. So now with where Arun has left this organization with almost 35,000 contacts, especially these are a younger generation. If you look at the NAIF, which is the driving force primarily of IAAC, this year had almost 6,000 to 8,000 people, youngsters, who attended the event. The capacity is 12,000. So what we have done is, as it was mentioned earlier, that there is a top level, there is a chairman, he has a vision, then his partners, that's the board. Board is 2-tier. So you have a executive board, and then there is an advisory board. And it's that both the members on both sides are equally competent, but it's just that the time commitment on the advisory is not as much, but their ideas, their contributions will, then the management, which is at my level, then you go to the next level of a staff. Typically IAAC was run by volunteers and interns, but we feel that we need to bring people into the team as full-time, as I call working partners and you call them employees, because they need to have a stake in the organization. They should be looking for a career here. You may start at a lower level, but you need to be a general manager at some point. You need to be administrative manager at some point. You need to be a creative manager at some point. So we have that level, and then below that there are people who come to us for interns. So these are the people who will be committing clear time with us, and then there is an ocean of volunteers that have been there and will continue to be there. So when you look at this multi-tier organization with volunteers, interns, staff, management, advisory, executive board, and the chairman, you have a clear structure in an organization which is a typical pyramid, not a flat organization. That leads us to the ambition of taking IAAC to the next level, which is go beyond the barriers of Hudson, go beyond the barriers of East River, look at rest of the country. We are not just in 2 or 3 DMAs, we are happening everywhere. So we have already started talking to other regions, including Midwest. We are talking to these organizations which are doing similar work. I just got a request yesterday from Brazil, which is part of Americas. So they want to have an IAAC Brazil. And it's one of the most important markets today.
Yes.
You look at Dallas, you look at Houston, you look at Austin now. This girl is approached, and they've been doing in their own ways, but they see IAAC as a national umbrella organization. So if you bring an Anupam Kher play here, it doesn't have to be only done for us. It can do a national tour.
Different place.
So this kind of structure, and then obviously going into the resources, because ultimately money is very important. And today corporate America, the donors, the organizations, the individuals are all there, but they're looking at good organizations which are run systematically, have a very transparent operation, and have a clear picture. And I think Rakesh should expand on it, that the board has reached out to one of the finest consulting companies in the country to look at and study what IAAC should be doing from their point of view and how they should go about it. So there is a lot of systems being created. And two, as you mentioned, anything else, we may not be overly ambitious this year. We may have an event in September and another event early in October with Mr. Ramchandra Guha and Suketu Mehta for a book. But this year our focus is primarily to do a good music concert. And obviously Carnegie Hall remains our first choice. We are just about to finalize that. And next year, the calendar, as you had asked earlier, we would be looking at ourselves practically like festivals. It won't be just a naive film festival. There would be an art festival, and there will be a performing festival. So eventually, in my mind, which I have yet to present to the board, is that every year after year, every quarter, there should be a clear calendar for everything. So there will be a festival in every quarter. So we can go back to the audience, we can go back to the performing artist, we have a clearly defined calendar. And obviously we can go to the corporate and donors and sponsors to come for it.
And you mentioned that, you're going to go across continents,
Americas.
Yeah, Americas. Well, okay. So right now it's Americas. It may be going to Europe as well. So when you're looking at the Americas, you're looking at other populations, of interest that could be for you. Like Brazilian, like you talked about, the film festival. Maybe you can have fusions as well, maybe emerging filmmakers from Brazil, or who have some sort of a connection to India in many ways. It could be, sort of in their art or in their culture or in their work that they're putting in, and that can be showcased in different places as well.
That is something we have to understand a little better. To whether this should be purely Indian, or whether there should be input from different countries, or whether we should create a fusion expression also somewhere in some form. That is a debate we have been going through, and discussion that we are going through. But the first year, as Sunil said, is going to be somewhat limited because it's the time is short, and
half the year is over anyways. Yes, it's hard.
But these are good ideas what you're saying, and he has been approached. So we'll try to see how we can be part of that and be part of that experiment, because that's still experimental.
Yeah. And I think what you're bringing is the synergy between emerging and established, artists. So those who want to do something but don't have a platform, you give them the platform. Those who are established, can be the mentors, so it could be like a mentorship program as well for a lot of a younger generation who are interested in the arts or would like to delve deeper in as a career. you know.
The one mandate seems to be coming along well is one, as you mentioned, the emerging and the aspiring artist. The second is, you look at the wealth of India. I was looking at a video yesterday which has kind of, they have discovered that India may not be 10,000 old civilization. We may be 35,000 year old civilization. We are such a vast country. We have 29 states. We have so much of wealth in India. So the objective where I think we are discussing right now is, let's present India.
Yeah.
Let's go wider. We have Tamil, we have Telugu, we have Kannada, we have Malayalam, we have Assamese, we have Manipur, we have Tripur, we have Meghalaya, you have Bihar, you have Kashmir, Haryana. You look at all these states, every state could itself be a country if they were part of Europe.
True.
So let's present first India through the eyes of a foreigner, through the eyes of an Indian born abroad or an Indian born in India.
Yeah.
Let's go deeper and wider into India first.
Absolutely.
So I think that would be one of the thought
Deeper,
that we are
wider, and vertical. I think
Correct.
that's basically what
Correct.
we're looking at. And Mr. Kaul, you want to add on to what both of them have said just now?
Yeah, the fundamental thesis remains that the Indian aesthetic experience was evaluated by Professor Sheldon Pollock as India's greatest contribution to humanity. The aesthetic framework, the rules that govern it, and the chamatkara experience that school of aesthetics creates. That promise doesn't exist anywhere. It's also a framework that promises in its highest state bliss and peace. It's a creation of beauty that is sorely needed in a contemporary world, which is becoming darker and uglier because of divisions, whereas Indian culture is all about synthesis and union. So our mission is to showcase this culture through its musicians, through its artists, through its dancers, through its writers, through its theater. I want an experience that Bharata, who wrote, Natya Shastra, the seminal book described as the fifth Veda.
Absolutely.
I want us to create an experience that if he came from 300 BC and landed in New York, he would say.
Wow. Awesome. I think that's a
That's
great way of looking at it. All the seminal works of centuries and from those
No
days.
other society had the discipline of aesthetics. And here in 4th century BC, maybe even older, we're not sure about, Bharata wrote Natya Shastra.
Yeah.
Then there were so many different schools created on aesthetic. Anandvardhana Dhwani school, Vakrorti school, all different disciplines, and commentaries for over the years by Kalata, Balata, Ramakanta, and all of them. That discipline and understanding that discipline was so important. So it has enriched our art and our culture tremendously. Rasa theory, nobody else thought of it in the way they thought of it, and they experimented with it. And Bharata, even how the stage should be set.
That's right.
The
Exactly.
size of the proscenium stage should be set, who should whisper from where, what he has to say, and all those things. That define.
I think if
nicely.
that, bring that out, it will be a great expression of our seminal works, of our ancient, philosophers and arts. And I think you'll be doing amazing contribution, not just to the organization, but I think to different diverse communities, because we're talking about, what you mentioned was unity and diversity, all those divisions and fractures that we're talking about. And it's so important in this age of violence that we bring that inclusion and we bring that feeling of we're all part of, same Vasudev Kutumbakam. We talk about that again and again, but translating into reality through an organization, through its initiatives, would nurture those ideas and bring them, to everybody.
And there's a beautiful line that was said from my part of India. Shastras dictate, art seduces.
Wow.
And there's too much dictation going on everywhere. Every day you wake up, somebody sort of laying down my way. Arts are different.
I think that should be a signature line, what you
Right.
just said, art seduces, Shastras dictate. I think that should be the IAAC.
But we don't want to downgrade
Tagline.
Shastras.
So I think I go back to our own. I think, look, at the end of the day, she's like an icon. You can already see it takes 6 men to replace 1 woman. But at the end of the day, what we will do is, as I said, we lay down some very strong foundations here. We're going to have a very strong vision here. We're going to have committed people, and we're going to build a platform, and it's going to be something that will showcase what this community is all about. And our hope is that the community will embrace it, and it will become every event we have should be a happening event of joy, where people come. And that's what the Indian aesthetic experience is, that whenever you go, whether you go to a mela or whatever,
Yeah.
you just see joyful people mixing and mingling, and it's a cacophony of experiences and color and sounds, and that's what we're going to do.
Joy and beauty.
Joy
Joy
and
and
beauty.
beauty. It's a grand vision, and I really sincerely hope, because I've been part of IAAC in my own way right through its inception. So I've seen the baby grow, and now it's an adult, in 20 years. So I sincerely hope, not just as a media person, but as part of IAAC, that it really grows to really bigger heights under the vision of Dr. Mattoo. So your final thoughts to our viewers, because this is a new beginning. So what would you tell our viewers about?
We have been very happy about the reaction that we received from people. I must have gotten hundreds of emails, that people not just congratulating us, but also volunteering to come on the board, what they can do for it. So I have been in many organizations, and many times we have to struggle to put the things together. Here it has been an interesting experience so far. So I'm quite confident that this will do very well, particularly people who are on the board and people who are actively involved in it even at this time have tremendous compulsion to make sure that this thing does very well, and they express that all the time.
Right. And Sunilji, would you like to say something to our viewers, how they can participate as well?
Yeah, well, you are the ITV, the pioneers in the broadcast industry, and through you guys we are wanting to get the message out. The timing could not be better. For India is happening, as everybody knows. So IAAC promises to, through this multi-layer and the best of the best at the board level, advisory level, and the chairman level. And when you will look at the team that has been selected, they are individually committed to a certain task, but they are in a group as a team committed to the whole team also. So there is the talent has to be nurtured, as we have been saying. Circle cannot fit into a square, and square cannot fit into a circle. We need to reach out to the right people and give them the room to perform. I think this is the perfect timing and a perfect platform. That's why even the Indian Consulate has offered to be a partner with us, and we are very happy.
Oh, that's wonderful.
They hosted us.
That is very huge, yes. Mr. Kaul, your final thoughts?
I would just say, come on down.
That's right.
The Indian community has a lot of young technologists, a lot of young Wall Street success stories. Come on down. We can create the experiences, but you can be the force multiplier. Bring your technology so we can broadcast these experiences around the world. Bring Wall Street guys, come on down and help incubate, help empower, be a social artist incubator.
Absolutely.
And we'll create the forums for you, we'll create the governance program. It'll just be a very joyous family that will join hands, and we'll have fun as we move along.
That's great. So share your narrative with IAAC, and the website is iaac.us. And we hope that collectively, individually of course, but collectively the organization goes to dizzying heights, which we really want at this point of time. And as I said, I think this word art seduces. I think that's what's going to be basically something that will attract and captivate your audiences all over in the Americas. Thank you very much, Sunil Hali, the Executive Director, Dr. Mattoo, the Chair. and Mr. Rakesh Kaul, the Vice Chair for IAAC. And I'm Renee Mehra. Thank you so much for watching the Renee Report.
Thank you.
Thank you.